My next guest won the 2024 Australian National Busking Championship and was a standout on The Voice in 2022. He's also the creator of a hit solo show, Flop, currently touring after a successful run at the Melbourne and Adelaide Fringe Festival. Welcome to Showtime, Arthur Hull.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Australian National Busking Champion. How'd that happen?
The Australian National Busking Championships is it's competitions that's held all around Australia, and there's regional heats. So you can go to places around all of Australia and do the heats there, and then the finals are in Cooma, New South Wales. And I did the regional heat in, where was it? I think I did the regional heat in Cooma. That's right. I did the regional heat in Cooma, and then I won that. And if you win, you get invited back for the finals. And I went and did the finals, and I won. It was awesome. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And competitions is a bit in your blood now, because you were in Adam Lambert's top 3 in the 2022 The Voice.
2024 The Voice. I did
2024. Oh, 2020. Oh, man. Got to shoot the researcher.
To be fair, I did The Voice in 2022 as well, and then I came back last year, and that's when I got to the top 3 of Adam Lambert.
No, how did 2022 go?
It went. It was tumultuous, if I'm going to be completely honest, because the day before I flew to do The Voice, I went into anaphylactic shock, and I didn't know that I was I was going to have an anaphylactic reaction. I ate this Brazil nut and literally went to the hospital, stayed in overnight, and then flew straight from the hospital to Sydney to go and film The Voice. I didn't turn any chairs, and then they wanted me to come back last year to do it again as kind of redemption, and by golly did I. And then here we are.
There must have been so much going through your mind going up for the second time. How was that? How did that feel?
It was amazing. It really did feel like kind of redemption, and I also feel like for me it was super important to do. But I also think that it was kind of a bit of a blessing that first time, because it really got me ready to be able to do it this time in 2024. But also, I don't think that, anaphylaxis aside, I don't think that I was ready for that at that time. I was 17 years old. I didn't really know who I was as an artist properly. And then I came back last year and I really knew who I was as an artist. And I think that was super important. And I loved The Voice. It was such an incredible experience. I met so many amazing people, not only, obviously the incredible coaches, but, the other contestants and people backstage. It was an absolute joy. I have nothing but good experiences from it.
How do you think things like the National Busking Competition and The Voice have helped shape your career?
I think immensely. I think it's really important to do lots of different things. It's kind of cast a wide net, and I just kind of really do try and take every opportunity that I possibly can, and whatever sticks to the wall sticks to the wall. And the worst that happens is you go do something and you don't enjoy it, and then you go, that's all right, I won't do that again. But knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do like. So I think every experience kind of shapes me as an artist, and I'll keep doing that for the rest of my life, hopefully.
Including circus performing. You are a graduate of the Flying Fruit Fly Circus.
Yes, I am. I graduated in 2023 after 11 years of training there. And Fruities has been a massive part of my life. I grew up with it. I have friends that I will have for the rest of my life due to fruit flies. Even here in Adelaide, because there's such a large circus community around Fringe, being a fruitie is such an in, because everyone knows what it is. Everyone everyone knows someone that went to Fruities, or, you know, lo and behold, they went to Fruities themselves. And it's just this beautiful, amazing community that I will, you know, be a part of and cherish forever. Yeah, I love Fruities.
How do you tap into that circus performing now with the work that you're doing?
I believe that as a young artist, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. So obviously I've got the circus, I've got music, I've got theatre, I've got musical theatre, I've got like all of these tools that I can draw on in any kind of way, shape or form. And I found it quite difficult when I was a bit younger, and people would try to kind of like shove you into a box, and they'd be like, oh, are you a circus performer, or are you a musician, or are you an actor? Like what are you? And at the moment, I just consider myself an artist, and I have all of these incredible ways to express my art. But I'm not just one thing. I'm an amalgamation of all of these different experiences over my life, and that's very much what Flop is. It's like all of these different things that I can draw on for the show.
And Flop's the show that you wrote and you're performing in. Right now at Adelaide Fringe, but heading to Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yeah, so my last show in Adelaide was on Sunday, and then we head to Comedy Festival in like 2 weeks at the Arts Centre. 3 weeks, yeah.
And what is Flop?
Flop is the best songs from the worst musicals ever written. It all kind of started when, you know, I've seen a million, as someone who loves musical theatre, I've seen a million of those like hits of Broadway, where someone comes out, you know, in a nice suit, and they just sing, you know, songs from Les Mis and from Phantom, and like they just sing all these kind of big hit musical numbers. But as a musical theatre lover, there's a lot of flops out there that have really, really great songs. And that's what I wanted to tap into. And I haven't seen it anywhere else. I haven't seen people looking into these musicals that have failed commercially or financially or theatrically, that do have incredible songs. And I wanted to bring that to an audience. And the reception has been incredible. People have loved it. And I think musical theatre people especially, I think they really appreciate it. Kind of having someone, you know, like perform some of the things that they're almost not allowed to like because it's failed so wholeheartedly. But that's what Flop is.
Where did the idea come from? Where were you sitting? What were you thinking when you thought, I can make a show out of this?
I went to watch King Kong the musical when I was 11 years old at the Regent Theatre in Melbourne, and my God, it was terrible. It was like the most lackluster script and the most mediocre performance that you've ever seen in your life. It was awful. But what was incredible was the puppet of King Kong. It was like 18 foot tall, 12 people kind of like jumping up and down on lines to puppeteer him, 4 people backstage doing all the animatronics and the sound effects for him. It was amazing. And I kind of thought of the idea of Flop, and I was like, maybe. I was kind of tossing up a couple of ideas for shows. And I went to research King Kong, and it doesn't exist. There's no content of King Kong on the internet. There's no bootlegs, there's no cast recordings, there's no pro shots. And I thought that it was very fitting for me to try and tell people about my experience of King Kong. And then I started reading the book Song of Spider-Man, which is a book all about Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which is the biggest commercial flop in musical theatre history. The music is written by Bono from U2 and The Edge. It was directed by Julie Taymor, who's the person that directed The Lion King, which is, you know, the most successful musical of all time. And it had the biggest budget ever at $70 million. But then it lost $60 million of those dollars and absolutely failed. And there was like a whole list of injuries and lawsuits, and there was like 183 previews. So many, the reviewers boycotted reviewing the show. They wouldn't review it because they did previews for like 8 months. I kind of looked into that, and I listened to the whole soundtrack of Spider-Man, and every song was just shocking. I was just like, this is just not good. And then there was this one song called If the World Should End, and Mary Jane sings it to Peter Parker to express her love for him. And it is the most gorgeous, kind of beautiful love ballad you've ever heard in your life. And at that point, I was like, I reckon there's a show in this. There's enough content from all of the musical theatre flops of history to make a 55-minute show. And that's what I did.
People are obviously loving Flop. When did you feel that you've created something special here?
Honestly, it's happened here in Adelaide. I think there's always a relationship that an artist has with their show that can be, artists don't always love the show that they're doing. It's very hard to kind of talk up your show and be like, yeah, this is amazing, and because you've made it, and like you can pick out all the little things. But this year in Adelaide, when I started doing shows, man, everyone just was immediately on side. Everyone was on board. Every audience member just kind of fell in love with the show. And I think only really recently, over the past week, have I gone, you know what? Actually, I'm very, very proud of the thing that I've made. I've worked really hard on it. I'd be remiss to say if I haven't. I have. I've poured my heart and soul into this show. And yeah, I love it. And I think people see that come through. An artist has to love their show for an audience to love it,
Absolutely. Arthur, what's the most unexpected thing you've learned about yourself as a performer through this journey of Flop?
I think it would have to be how difficult it is to make a show. It's really hard. It takes an amount of effort that I think a lot of people don't quite grasp. It was Flop was 8 months of my life, just locked away in my room making Flop. And then from there, it's every show is getting better. It's from my time in Melbourne Fringe to my time now in Adelaide Fringe, the show is by far and away a significantly better show. And it's going to be even better by the time it gets to Melbourne. And then when we go to Edinburgh this year, it will be even better again. And yeah, shows, in my opinion, a show should never be done. It's never finished. You've never cracked the code and written every line of the show. It changes every night based on the audience, based on the way you're feeling, based on if something just comes to you in the moment and you go, I like that, I'm going to do that. And the show evolves, it does get better every single time. And I think that's really important for a show, especially a solo show, that you never feel like you're never satisfied, and you're never done.
What do you reckon audiences are going to take away from seeing Flop?
Well, I've worked really hard to make sure that Flop is super accessible. I've been listening to musical theatre for my whole life. I'm very within that world. I love it so much. But what I thought was super important was to make sure that if you know nothing about musical theatre, the show's still very accessible and you can still get it, you can still laugh along with the jokes. And what I love about that is that when you do get a musical theatre person that knows all of the shows that I'm talking about, kind of gets all of the little references, they really love it. They feel like they're being seen by someone that also gets it, And I think audiences take away a bit of information, right? A bit of history on the flops of musical theatre. They take away, 12 amazing songs that just happen to have come from flops that, I play live, and perform my little heart out for. And, they get a fun night out. They get to go and see a show. They get to spend 55 minutes with me, and at the end of it, walk out saying, I'm happy I did that. I'm happy I went to see that. And I think that's what audiences are going to get.
I'm chatting with Ava Hull, who is the creator and performer of Flop. Just finished up in Adelaide, heading to Melbourne's International Comedy Festival from the 8th to the 20th of April at the Arts Centre in Melbourne. For more info and tickets, visit comedyfestival.com.au. Arthur, thank you so much for the chat, and continued success in Melbourne and then, of course, at the Edinburgh Festival.
Right. Thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate it.